Take a deep breath, a breath to be with yourself. Here at Reflections, Tadabbur, healing moves at its own pace. And we do not pretend pain is easy because pain is part of life. And at some point in different stages of our lives, we all meet grief. Sometimes it arrives as loss, sometimes as change, sometimes as a quiet ending of something we thought would last. It's okay to feel your emotions, even when they do not make sense. Today, we are not talking about moving on. We are not talking about closure, and we are definitely not talking about getting over anything. We are talking about perception. Because grief is not only about what we lose, it comes from many places. From endings, disappointment, betrayal, mistreatment, or relationships that shift, dreams that do not happen, jobs that end, or futures that quietly close their door. What matters most is not only what happened, but how it changes the way we see the world. Grief does not change us, it reveals us and teaches us how to see with deeper eyes. And healing, real healing, is not the disappearance of grief. It is a shift in how we look through it. Now, I want you to imagine something. So let's imagine that you wake up one day and your room looks the same. The furniture is in the same place. The air smells the same. The sunlight enters through the same window, but the world feels different. Whether something is physically gone or something inside you has shifted. The sense of stability you once had is no longer there. That is grief. Grief is not just sadness. Sadness is the surface. Grief is structural. It rearranges how reality feels. Grief is what remains when presence disappears. I'm not talking just about the physical presence. It's the emotional presence, psychological safety, and the quiet certainty of life's routine and plans. And when that disappears, the world does not just feel empty, it feels unreliable. This is where many people misunderstand grief. They believe grief is simply the feeling of missing, but it goes deeper than that. It is also about the loss of safety, the loss of predictability, the loss of the version of the world that made sense, and it often comes with fear. Not dramatic fear, not panic, but a low, constant question underneath everything. If this could be taken, what else can be lost? Grief does not just say, I miss, it whispers, nothing is guaranteed. And suddenly, joy feels fragile, attachment feels risky, hope feels conditional. Feeling this way does not mean you're weak. This is the nervous system responding to rupture. Grief is the cost of deep bonding to a job, a dream, a plan, a future, a relationship, or even a way of life. Your body is reacting to a major change or disruption in your life. It's a natural survival response. Let's talk about fear gently, because fear in grief is often misunderstood. People think fear means you're not healing, you're stuck, you are ungrateful, you lack faith. But fear does not have to mean any of these things. Fear appears in grief because your perception has changed. Before loss, the world felt held. After loss, the world feels exposed. Your mind starts scanning. What else could disappear? What else could be taken? What if I cannot survive the next loss? This is not irrational. This is protective. Psychologically, when we go through a big loss or disruption, the brain becomes more alert. It starts watching closely, trying to prevent future pain. That's why you feel more cautious, more aware, or more worried than before. Spiritually, it is a moment of reorientation. Loss is not meaningless, it marks a turning point. On a deeper level, loss also shifts how we understand life. It becomes a moment where our direction, priorities, and beliefs begin to shift. Grief pushes us to confront something we often avoid. We do not have full control over life. And when that sense of control breaks, fear naturally appears. But here is something important. Fear in grief is not the enemy. It is information. It tells us where attachment lived, where safety once rested, where trust was outsourced. And knowing that matters because it helps us understand what needs to be rebuilt, not what needs to be completely erased. Grief does not destroy faith. It challenges where faith was placed. It reveals if our trust is leaning on people, plans, roles, routines, outcomes we assumed were permanent. Yes, grief reveals that what we were standing on was never permanent. And that is why it feels spiritual as much as it feels emotional. The Quran speaks directly to this shift, so that you may not grieve over what has passed you by, nor rejoice too much over what He has given you. Surah Al-Hadid, verse 23. Another verse tells us, and to Allah belong the unseen matters of the heavens and the earth. Surah Hud, verse 123. Grief brings us face to face with this truth. There was always more beyond our control than we realized. So grief is a chance to dismantle false certainty. It asks a quite unsettling question. Was my trust rooted in what I could see or in something deeper? And that question, painful as it is an invitation to re-anchor. So now, let's talk about another layer of grief that people don't like to admit. Self-pity. Not that dramatic kind, not the loud kind, but the quiet inner dialogue. Why did this happen to me? Why do others get to keep what I lost? Why am I getting this when others are moving on? Self-pity is not selfishness. It is grief turned inward without orientation. It appears when pain has no place to go. When loss is real, but meaning has not arrived yet. The danger of self-pity is not that it hurts. Pain is already there. The danger is that it narrows perception. In self-pity, grief becomes the center of identity. The lens tightens, the world shrinks. You stop asking, what is this teaching me? And start repeating, this should not have happened. Self-pity freezes grief in time. Not because the person wants to suffer, but because suffering feels safer than uncertainty. At least pain is familiar. Uncertainty is part of healing. And healing is not about erasing grief, but facing it. Healing does not mean no more tears, no more fear, no more heaviness, no more revisiting the story. And it's okay if sadness resurfaces or self-pity shows up. It's not failure if you feel sad. It means perception is still adjusting. Healing is not linear, and it doesn't happen in a straight, predictable path. And the rushed advice, be strong, everything happens for a reason. These phrases demand understanding before we are ready to act strong or accept the reasons. Now, let's talk about healing as a shift in perception. So, what is healing really? Healing is not going back to who you were before the loss. That person belonged to a different life, a different reality. Healing is learning how to live after something has broken open. Grief and hardship are not just pain, they are a chance to see life from a fresh angle. They show us what we could not notice before. They reveal depth, meaning, and perspective that comfort alone never can. In Chinese philosophy, there is yin and yang, light and dark, not as enemies but as partners. You cannot explain light to someone who's never known darkness. Without winter, spring would not feel like a miracle. Cold gives meaning to warmth. Stillness gives meaning to growth. Loss gives depth to joy. Psychology says something similar. After deep loss, the mind becomes protective, alert. It's not weakness, it's how we survive change. The darkest moments of life are not proof that something went wrong. They expand your capacity to notice what is gentle, what is meaningful, what truly matters. We do not get rid of grief, we live through it. As perception widens, self-pity softens, you start to notice pain is here, but it's not everything. Fear speaks, but it's not in charge. Loss shaped me, but it did not reduce me. Slowly, the question changes. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And begin asking, now that I know this, how do I live wisely? That's not bitterness. That's not detachment. That's clarity. Carry your grief gently. Carry what mattered with honor. And if today still feels heavy, it doesn't mean healing is not happening. Sometimes you're still in winter and spring is around the corner. Everyone talks about healing, but very few talk about the quiet, everyday challenge of simply living after loss. Not the big breakthrough, not the dramatic moments of clarity, but the ordinary moments, making breakfast when your appetite feels unfamiliar, getting dressed when motivation is thin, running errands when the world feels slightly off, like something important is missing, even if you cannot name it. This is where healing actually happens, not in grand gestures, but in learning how to live inside the echo of what was. Daily healing is not about fixing yourself. It's about rebuilding familiarity. You don't start by finding meaning, you start by creating rhythm. Simple things, eating at roughly the same time, stepping outside, even briefly, doing one task fully instead of many tasks poorly, letting routine carry you when emotion feels heavy. These small acts do not solve grief, but they give life a place to reset again. And most importantly, use your daily prayers to anchor your day, creating natural pauses and moments to reset, reflect, and return to clarity. To give life a rhythm to rest in and a way to carry yourself gently through the day. And this brings us to something that's both my favorite and most concerning point. Why we analyze, or I should say dramatize, pain more than we repair life. Today, many people know the language of trauma. We can name it toxic, controlling, narcissistic, unhealthy, dysfunctional. We are very good at identifying what went wrong. Therapy, psychology, and social conversations often focus on understanding the wound, and that actually matters. But sometimes understanding becomes a place to stay. We keep asking, what's wrong with me? Why did this affect me so deeply? What label explains my pain? And slowly life gets postponed. Not because people enjoy suffering, but because analysis feels safer than repair. Naming pain gives relief. Rebuilding life requires effort, and grief does not heal through insight alone. It heals through movement, gentle, repeated movement. Not fixing the past, but tending to the present. This is where self-pity quietly appears, not as weakness, but as exhaustion. Self-pity says, I have understood enough. Now someone else should carry me. And we blame others for our loss or pain. But healing asks something quieter. Can I take one small step today, even without answer? And that mindset tries to notice the positive, however small it is in life. And from that quiet willingness to take one small step, even without answer, we move into rebuilding an everyday mindset, learning how to live steadily, patiently, and honestly, one moment at a time. Rebuilding an everyday mindset. Add tawakkul, trusting in Allah while taking action. Healing is not about becoming positive, it's about becoming functional with honesty. You do not wake up and feel better, you wake up and do one small thing anyway. And over time, the nervous system learns something important. Life can continue even if it is changed. Psychology calls this regulation through routine. Faith calls it sabr, steady patience, not passive waiting. The Quran reminds us, Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 286. Not because the burden is light, but because strength grows through caring, not avoiding. And another quiet truth, with hardship comes ease. Surah Ash-Sharh, verse 5 and 6. Ease comes not to replace hardship, but to come alongside it. Even in grief, moments of relief, clarity, or gentle comfort can appear. Grief does not disappear, but life slowly expands around it. And one day you realize you did not fix everything. You did not figure everything out. You simply kept showing up, and that was enough to begin again. Grief does not mean you are weak. Fear does not mean you lack trust. Self-pity does not mean you lack gratitude. All of it means you are human, learning to see the world from a new perspective. Grief is the mark of deep bonding. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is learning to shift your perspective, to hold what was lost and still move forward. If you are grieving, you're not late, you're not behind, you're not failing, your perspective is changing, and that takes time. Take another breath with me, not to let go, but to see with fresh eyes. Gentle listeners, that's my perspective. I would love to hear yours. Do share. How has your perspective on life shifted after what you have experienced? I will look forward to that. And thank you for reflecting with me today. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and with the way you see the world.
Subscribe now to Reflections. Tadabbur with Naddy the Nerd.